There were at least a dozen people in the market square when the 4 Australians left their restaurant just after 11 last night. One, Stephen Melrose, went to take a photograph of the town hall as the other 3 got into the car. There was a burst of gunfire. The gunman's car was parked 100 yards away outside the square. 2 of them, at least one armed with a semi-automatic weapon, appear to have walked up to the Australian's car and shot Melrose at close range, and also shot Nick Spanos, sitting in the back of the car. His girlfriend, Vicky Koss, next to him was unhurt, as was Mrs. Lyndall Melrose in the front. 40 miles away and 2 hours later, the Belgian army picked up some activity near their firing ranges on infrared security equipment. It was the gunman's car, abandoned and on fire. It had been stolen last week in Holland. The killing has all the hallmarks of IRA action. 2 years ago, an RAF serviceman was shot and 2 others injured a few streets away in Roermond. British troops now have number plates indistinguishable from ordinary plates, such as those on the Australian's car. The 4 had been in Holland on a short holiday from work in London. They'd stopped for a late dinner on their way back home.
Well, I'd feel disgusted about any sort of killing of this nature. The fact that it was a mistake and clearly innocent people are involved makes it worse. But one can only feel disgust and contempt for people who do this sort of thing.
This IRA attack was in a more crowded place with more eyewitnesses and more indiscriminate gunfire than 2 years ago.
Into 2 promising young careers. Stephen Melrose from Brisbane was setting up a tripod and camera to take a picture. His wife Lyndall was getting into the rental car. Nicholas Spanos from Sydney was already in the back seat with his friend Vicky Koss. A black-clad and hooded gunman fired at least 15 shots from close range and the 2 men died. Bullets sprayed into a nearby restaurant, but the 2 women weren't hurt. Shocked and screaming, they ran to the restaurant where one of them rang home to Australia. 2 hours later, the car used by the IRA's active service unit was found burnt out in Belgium. Like many Australians and New Zealanders, the 2 lawyers and their companions were on a working holiday in Britain. They had used the bank holiday weekend to visit art galleries in Amsterdam and had just had a meal at a nearby Italian restaurant. Stephen Melrose and Lyndall had been married for just 9 months.
Just a total surprise to hear that such an innocent person could be killed under such circumstances.
Nicholas Spanos was from a family of new Australians.
And we lost this boy. He's been chopped down like a beautiful tree from people that I know only murder and nothing else.
There have been other IRA killings in this area against British soldiers who visit from an army base across the border in West Germany. So the British abolished special military number plates and now use randomly chosen British plates. The young Australians died because it's now harder for the IRA to pick out off-duty soldiers from the rest of us. Max Hayton, 3 National News.
Believing they were British servicemen.
The Australian government is refusing to accept the IRA apology for killing the 2 young Australians in Roermond. So too are the 2 women who watched their loved ones cut down by the IRA hit squad.
I'm very pleased to see that the Australian government has rejected their apology, because I don't think an apology it's not doing anything for myself or Vicky. It's done, it's over. It's not going to bring them back.
In Britain there's been an enormous outcry, so when the 2 survivors returned to London they agreed to hold a press conference to tell their story, to tell how an IRA blunder has shattered their lives.
We were just sitting ducks. It's a nightmare. It's just something that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen to you. It was, I don't know, it's just something out of a horror movie.
With remarkable composure, Vicky Koss and Lyndall Melrose told a tale of an attack brutal and callous even by IRA standards.
When the window smashed and the shooting was still going on, my door was open, and I sort of felt I was waiting for them to come at me, but they didn't. They happened to be able to kill the boys without touching us. Had we been in the way, I don't think it would have made any difference.
Supporting the 2 women, family and friends who had flown over from Australia. For Lyndall Melrose and Vicky Koss are still coming to terms with the killings. Having told the world what happened, the 2 women have asked to be left alone to recover and start their lives again. Liam Giori, One Network News, London.
Killed a British major in West Germany last night with the same men who murdered 2 Australian tourists last week. Today, the IRA finally claimed responsibility for the 2 gun attacks on British servicemen this weekend and warned that there would be more killings.
The Major was killed as he returned home with his wife after a party in the officers' mess of a nearby barracks. He was shot outside the garage of his home up to 6 times and at close range. Like many other soldiers here, his car had easily identifiable British number plates. Immediately after the shooting, at midnight last night, roadblocks were set up around Dortmund. Within 20 minutes, police had spotted the terrorists and gave chase along this road. But the IRA men opened fire, and one of the officers pursuing them was slightly injured. The getaway car, a stolen Mazda, was later found abandoned. West German detectives say all the evidence here suggests that this attack was carried out by the same IRA gang which killed 2 Australians across the border in Holland last weekend. They think the murder weapon used here was a Kalashnikov assault rifle, though in the getaway car they found a Browning pistol. As Army security is reviewed once again, flowers have been laid this evening outside the home of Major Dylan Lee. He leaves not only a widow, but 2 young sons.